didn't have to do audio thinking. So hello and welcome to the Midwest Pokemon League. I'm Python, coach of the Portland Trailblazers, and this is the OUB video. Now you might be wondering, we have the OUAs up. I'm going to do a quick note to the tier list, a quick addendum to the tier list I did for OUAs. It's going to take like 2 seconds to have some thoughts that I came up with after the video. And I figured that they were important to share, and I'll post the updated tier list once this video goes live. So for starters, I originally said I think that Darkrai and Spectrier are like the top 2. I think that I've slightly changed my mind on this because Darkrai's falling. Darkrai's falling bad. The way that I currently see the league as a whole, Kyurem is number 1. And the reason for that is because the potential Kyurem in Snow is so incredibly scary. Its ability to run X Blizzard sets, ability to run Sub Roost Pressure Stalling sets, ability to run Dragon Dance sets, kind of gives it unmatched versatility in terms of being an offensive on, and it's also bulky as hell in Snow. And obviously, you know, this is just the Snow talk. I think when we go even further into like the intricacies of it, you can pair it with the full Snow team. You can choose not to do so, and you can just pair it with a Slowking or a Slowking Galar, and you have a slow pivot into the Kyurem, which, in my opinion, completely turns this Mon into like an unanswerable threat. Right? Like, you really can't stop it from getting its game plan in. As for Spectrier, it's weird, right? Because on paper, Spectrier is worse than Darkrai, but I just think in practice, the dark types and normal types that are supposed to counter this thing don't actually counter this thing. Like, dark types are going to lose to the Will-O-Wisp sets, they're going to lose to the Nasty Plot Draining Kiss subsets, they're going to lose to Disable, they're going to lose to Taunt sets eventually too. Like, and then normal types are so easy to beat, and people don't value normal types highly enough in a draft, and now normal types are like actually straight up the best type that you can get in the draft because you have to be able to beat Spectrier in your team. It just completely warps team building in a way that Darkrai doesn't. That isn't to say Darkrai isn't still good, it's still number 3, but Spectrier is just going to straight up force win conditions, and all you have to do with it is draft a fighting type. Draft a fighting type and the world is your oyster, and I think Darkrai requires a little bit more help. But otherwise, I think that the top 8 is pretty solid. The only other things that I have of note is that Quaquaval and Baxcalibur are going to change places, and I think Quaquaval still really good, but I think the same argument that applies to Kyurem does apply to Bax. When it's in Snow, this Mon is way harder to prep for and play against, and I don't know, I just think obviously Kyurem has it way better because Kyurem can run special sets and Kyurem can run bulky sets. Kyurem's just way more versatile, but that doesn't change the fact that Bax is really hard to stop. And as for Quaquaval, it's just, I do think that it's slightly worse in my mind compared to a Great Tusk. It is easier to answer compared to a Great Tusk. Great Tusk is also just a great utility Mon. It's a great glue Mon. It does a lot for a team. Quaquaval doesn't get as much done, but it's still one of the best sweepers in the league at the moment. So that doesn't take away from Quaquaval. It's just something that I'm considering. Oh, and I guess I have one other thing, which is Kingambit's going 2 spots down to Mega Lopunny and Lando T. I just think both these Mons are I just think both these mons are better. Yeah, I just think both these mons are better currently. I don't know. I just think Lando T is really good. I'm really high on Lando T. I'm really high on Bull. And Lopunny being a normal type is a little bit better because of how Spectrier and Gholdengo are currently operating. In game, it can still beat both of those, but it's just easier to count because, again, Steel type needs to lose to any fighting type, whereas Lopunny, has the ability to turn out. It can get the fake out chip turns as well. It does a lot. Now, OUB list. Now, you might notice that the OUB list. Now, you might notice that the OUB list is already complete. That's because this is a re-recording. I recorded the video already, and the audio got corrupted, and that really sucked because it was like 2 hours long. But that's fine because we can do it better. We can do it more efficient. The list is already complete. I didn't want to remake the list, so I posted the list, and I'm just gonna kind of go over each mon as a whole. And maybe we'll swap some things around because I do have a couple more takes, but for the most part, I think that this list is pretty solid. If you like the way that this list is done compared to the last list, then let me know, and I'll just do it this way in the future as well for the BLNUU list. But yeah, so for starters, is it any surprise that Slowking Galar is the best mon in my mind at OUB when Kyurem is the best mon at OUA? Not really. I mean, you pair the two together and it's disgusting. And obviously, again, with Bax, it's another thing. But I just think as a whole, Snow has still really good options. The fact that Arctovish and Arctozolt weren't moved up, they're very cheap, very reliable options for Snow at 80 points. And you can honestly get both of them and just be fine. Again, 80 points. And I don't know, man. It just kind of feels like people forgot why we've done what we've done to Weather. And Snow is kind of like that last bastion of we haven't truly fucked Weather enough. And I do think that we need to fuck Weather a little bit more. I still want Weather to be an option, but cheap Weather should never be an option unless the mons are complete dog shit, like a Ludicolo, like a Golduck, where there's simply no way that these mons can take over a game by themselves. Arctovish and Arctozolt can because the defense buff makes it really hard to fucking prep for them. And obviously their damage is nothing to scoff at, But that's just my thoughts. That. Number 2 on my list is Urshifu Rapid Strike. Now, I don't think Urshifu Rapid Strike is too broken for this tier like some people. I think that this is a well-deserved move down. It fits in a very similar role as Keldeo in my mind, and I think Keldeo is just a solid OUB, as you can see in this list of cows here. But I think my big takeaway with Urshifu Rapid Strike is people do still kind of sleep on this mon. Yes, can run Rocky Helmet into it, but I mean, I don't know, man. Bring protective pads, bring punching glove. You don't need to run choice items on Urshifu Rapid Strike. It's a good wall breaker. You pair it with other wall breakers anyways. You pair it with another physical wall breaker if you really want to get the maximum value out of it. You pair it with a special wall breaker if you want to get the maximum value out of it. You pair it with speed control if you want to get the maximum value out of it. Like either a fast mon, a tailwinder, a sticky web mon. Yeah, I mean, you build around this thing really well. And it's way easier to do that when it's an OUB. That all being said, I do still think that this mon has a lot of flaws inherently, but I'm still pretty high up. I just think that there's a lot of ways to beat Rapid Strike, and it does kind of require the person playing it to play it really well. But, it is what it is. You take what you can get. Mega Altaria, on the other hand, I don't know, man. There's been talk about moving Mega Altaria down for like 2 years now, I feel like. And this is finally the season that ends. And I'm excited to see it. But I think this mon just kind of does a lot, and there's not really many ways to stop it from doing a lot, So for starters, obviously Dragon Dance sets are really, really good. Cotton Guard sets are still very good as well, with the Roost and Bell and Hyper Voice, Flamethrower, Fire Blast even. And I think we haven't even reached the true potential bullshittery of this mon with Dragon Dance, Cotton Guard, Roost Return, or Facade. Just like when you know that you're gonna get burnt, toxic, stop you. And again, I do think that this mon has a lot of untapped potential, a lot of untapped sets, not through the fault of any one person who drafted it, just because it was a 180 point mon, and I think at 140 it's going to be really, really good. He's doing a lot of stuff, but doesn't need a little bit of help. You need to get a steel type really badly. And I also think that the best thing that you can pair with this ground type is be able to break steals, and Earthquake does good damage, but it's not the best. So ground or a fire type works really well with Altaria. I said with Urshifu, pair it with a psychic type and a dark type, and then pair Slowking Gala with whatever fuck you want. I guess a fighting type is also really good for it for future sight sets. But yeah, that's my thoughts on those three. I think they are very confirmed top three. Going into the other five. I can't today. Holy shit. Mega Kangaskhan is still really good. Obviously, it does have that rocky helmet weakness, but it runs Wish anyways most of the time, so I don't care about that. Access to Fake Out, access to Seismic Toss, which does 50% to just about every single mon in the game. Right? Yeah, it does about 50%, 48 to 50% to every mon in the game. Is just really inherently valuable as both a breaker and a Wish passer, like a tank mon. And there's really not many options that we have into this, obviously. Switch in a Ghost type, switch in a Rocky Helmet mon. You can circumvent both of those with Kangaskhan. It has access to Crunch, it has access to Sucker Punch. Pair it with a good Pursuit Trapper. This thing is gonna go crazy. I really like a lot of ideas like you can pair with this thing. But yeah, I just think that this mon does really well, and I'm really excited to see Mega Kangaskhan at like a third split. I think this has been like the best addition to OU in a long time. The score is kind of shit. Let me take that back. Hold on. Let me reword. The score is kind of a shitter. It's not shit. It's a shitter. I think that this mon in most games is better than a Lando T. Its speed tier is faster than Lando T. Poison heal. Almost more valuable than a Lando in my mind. Like, yeah, Lando can run more items, but not being able to toxic a wall because it's going to be able to, not being able to status a wall in general is really good, but not being able to toxic a wall because it heals from it and it wants to be toxic, and that's why it runs a toxic orb, is really nice. And then obviously you knock it off, but it doesn't matter unless you knocked it off before it got poisoned by the toxic orb. Yeah, so like there are a lot of things that I think this mon does better than Lando T. I think Lando T is a better, more versatile mon, but then this thing has access to spikes, it has access to Super Fang, it has access to defog, obviously, which I think Lando also has. So it's less in my mind, but like it just does so many things. The score wears so many hats. I think that the top 8 is really like I look at these mons and they fit in every single list that I could ever make. Any single OUA I can pair with one of these top 8 and they fit well together because these mons are so good at what they do. But yeah, I mean, you pair this with a bulky water type, like or a Primordial, just to tank the ice beams. You go crazy. I really liked Cal's usage of Mew last season. I think it was great OUP. And obviously this is like the most versatile mon in the world, so like there's not really much for me to give. It's the jack of all trades. And obviously being a master of none is not better than being a master of one. You know, if you're really good at one thing, it's way easier to build around and like play around. But that versatility just can never be understated. It's a good sweeper with Nasty Plot or Dragon Dance. It's a good defensive mon with Will-O-Wisp, Roost. It has all the hazards in the world except for Sticky Web. Yeah, I don't know, man. This mon's really good. It's on every list again. And just pair it with the dark type and a fighting type. Honestly, the best thing that you can do for a Mew is have one of every role that Mew could do. So have a setup sweeper, physical and special, have a hazard setter, and then that means that Mew can wear all of its hats, you know. Cinderace was something that I kind of went back and forth on for a while. I was like, is it top 8? Is it mid top 8? I don't really know. But I'm kind of going to just keep it in this top 8 just because I think that it really can't be stated how good Cinderace can be. It can't be understated how good Cinderace can be in the right circumstances. Speed tier is great. Attack stat is great. It has the potential to be ability with Will-O-Wisp, Turn, Change. I don't think Court Change is the best hazard control. I think you need secondary hazard control because I Court Change their Sticky Web and now it's on their side, and then they click it again and then it's like, I did nothing. Or Stealth Rock or Spikes, you know, it's the same thing. It doesn't need to be paired with a secondary hazard control. That's not really a punishment because you want to do that anyways, and its move pool versatility is so good. It has Gunk Shot, it has High Jump Kick, it has Pyro Ball and U-Turn, obviously. There are some weeks where Electro Ball is not even like a bad bring as well. I just think that this mon can do a lot. And like my only real downside on it, my only real thing that I don't like about Cinderace is like, I just don't think that it's a good hazard control. That's like the only bad thing I can say about it. And that's not really a downside because like there's a bunch of mons on this list that aren't good hazard control mons. So yeah, my thoughts on Cinderace. And then lastly, it took me zero time at all to come to the conclusion that Iron Treads is the top 8 because it's great. Iron Treads is so good. Its access to knockoff and volt switch are really good for utility. And I mean, what else do you really need out of a ground type? Oh, how about a steel typing so that it can switch in on fairies? Oh, how about rapid spin so I can get rid of hazards? Oh, how about, access to bulldoze and earthquake and steel beam if you really want a special nuke to just, get rid of your lead. You can run Stealth Rock Endeavor on it as well. This mon does great things, and it's just better than X-Control in my mind because access to Volt Switch just makes it inherently like 10 times better than X-Control. I don't know, man. I just think X-Control is kind of like way weaker than this, and it's still a good mon. Don't get me wrong, it's still an early mon, but yeah, that's my thoughts on X-Control and Iron Treads. I just realized I haven't explained the tiers, but we're going to the top 8. So let me explain. This is how tiering will work for the rest of these tier lists because obviously first rounders or second rounders or third rounders. We need some different names for the tiers, and I think that this is kind of going to be how I define tiers in the future for all future videos of this kind of category, right? So the early birds are mons that I could see taking in the first 2 rounds. They are, the early OUBs. And especially in the first 2 rounds with like top 8 and early birds, I don't think there's really a distinction between the two, but I think that a lot of these mons are just so good that you can forego getting a first OUA or a second OUA just to get them, just to make sure that you get them because they're so good at what they do. And then night owls would be more in the realm of the 3rd round, the late 2nd round, early 3rd round, maybe also late 3rd round. Just mons that, once you get your OUA, once you get maybe one of these early birds, you start looking at these as mons to like add some versatility, add some value, add some utility. A lot of these mons have good utility as well. That's what it boils down to. So a lot of utility, a lot of power. And then we get into solid picks, which solid picks are kind of more from the 4th round on. I could see these mons being solid picks. The later, the better for solid picks as well. The later that you get solid OUBs, the more valuable they become because they're probably going to be there late into the draft, 10th, 11th round. Not necessarily guaranteed, but it probably will be. So if you can save the points for them, then you're getting a lot of value in picking them. But I wouldn't pick them anywhere near these other mons. I would always be looking at these other mons first. Needs context is going to be a tier of mons where I personally don't think I would ever draft any of them. However, I do think in the right context, in the right hands, in the right circumstances, in the right weeks, these mons are as good as some of these early birds, as bad as some of these do not drafts. And it really just comes down to how your team is structured and whether or not you're willing to spend the picks on them. Because, some teams are going to really want some of these mons. Cresselia especially. Cresselia is a mon where I debated putting in whether or other because this is each room. If you're playing the Trick Room team, you need Cresselia. But you're not going to. So, and then do not draft is still do not draft. I think these mons are unviable in their current tier and need to be moved down. And then whether or other is still whether or other. We'll get there when we get there. All right. That is that. Yeah, let me move Barris. I'm going to move Barraskewda up here. Not because Barraskewda is better, I just is weather mod. This is all right. That's the tiers as a whole. Let's talk about the early birds. Now, I personally am still high on Samurott Hisui. I don't think I can ever fall off on Samurott Hisui. It is, in my opinion, the best lead in the game with Ceaseless Edge. It is, in my opinion, one of the best like late game mons as well, with this 2 Assault Vest, with this 2 Sucker Punch, and Aqua Jet with access to knocking off the heavy duty boots. It can be Scarf, it can be AV, it can be Focus Sash Lead, it can be Choice Band, it can be Swords Dance, it can do everything, and it really only struggles with not hitting Ceaseless Edge. That's like the only bad thing about this mon is that sometimes you miss a Ceaseless Edge and you lose a game off of it. But I'm willing to take that risk, man, because it's a 90, 95 accurate move. So the ability to set up spikes on contact is great. So good. And I said before how much I love spikes as a hazard because the mons that are weak to Stealth Rocks the mons that are weak to Stealth Rocks are often going to be heavy duty boots, and it brings Sticky Web. Then most people know your Sticky Web, and they might bring more heavy duty boots. And that still kind of applies to Samurott Hisui, but Samurai Hisui has knockoff, and you just pair it with like a fighting type, and the fighting types also almost always get knockoff. So it's like, I don't know, man. This thing just does everything. I think it's so good. So yeah, that's why Samurai Hisui is in early birds. There was a point in time where I had it and Cinderace swapped, but I kind of came back around to putting Cinderace on top. I had Iron Crown 2 splits ago, so it was a split before this past one that we just did on a Dragon Ball team. And wow, this mon is so fucking good. Obviously, Tachyon Cutter makes it a really good anti-lead option because it can break through Focus Sash mons. But it just has a lot of good versatility between booster energy setup sets, between Calm Mind, Iron Defense sets as a whole, or Calm Mind sets, I think I think it's a agility. Might not be. I don't remember. Even if it's not agility, I mean, the booster energy speed does similar. And it can be Assault Vest, it can be Choice Specs, it can do so much damage over the course of a game. Again, it's a steel type that can pivot, which I think is really good. That's why I value Tread so highly. And I don't know, I just think that people don't value this mon really. Steel Psychic typing is really good. There's obviously Jirachi, which is going to be mentioned in a second. And Metagross will be mentioned next week as well. But like, Steel Psychic typing is just so good. There's very few things that you can do with it. They're all predictable as fuck. Pair this thing with a Dark type. Pair this thing with a Fighting type. Pair this thing with a Fairy and a Dragon, because that's 2 type cores. And I just think it does so much. I like this mon's really good. I have Ferrothorn higher than most. I just think that it's hard to not like this mon, right? Like Iron Barbs being Rocky Helmet as an ability is really cool. And I think that the same thoughts that I have about Garchomp kind of just apply here, where its ability to be a defensive menace is so nice. And while it doesn't have Garchomp's offensive utility, it doesn't really need it because it's just able to completely stop teams in their tracks. And the only thing that can really stop it is fire and fighting types, which are, again, really easy to counter because you're going to be pairing this with a fairy type anyways. You're going to be pairing this with a water type anyways. So I just think that Ferrothorn provides so much value to a team that it's really hard to not have it so high enough. Petra Run is disgusting. Oh my god. This mon does so much, and I don't know. I just think Petra Run needs to dot. Obviously, it's 88 in all stats except for the 160 defense is still really good. It's still really tanky. It's still fast. It still can hit hard on special or physical side. In a pinch or choice band in the physical side, which we saw Mike run the nasty pod sets on special side, which everyone uses. And Malignant Chain plus Poison Puppeteer is probably the best poison move in the game. Ability to guarantee a poison, guarantee a confuse is kind of nasty. And runs Hex really well, obviously due to that. I've seen the potential for curse sets as well, which I think it's really just a disgusting mon. I think this mon's just really disgusting. And Parting Shots as well. Yeah, you can like kind of soft check it with a Cobra Cloak mon, but you really can't because I don't know, man. It's just, I'm Cobra Cloak and you can't Parting Shot out. Okay. How do you stop me from just not dying? Like, eventually I'm going to be able to Parting Shot out. You're not going to run Cobra Cloak on multiple. I don't know. I just think this mon does. This mon's so tanky that it's just hard to stop it. And that's really good. Really valuable. I have the Ogerpons together in this tier. And, honestly, there's a part of me that's like, You could put water above fire. You could put fire above water. I like how fire just kind of invalidates abilities. I think that's good for a setup sweeper. But like, there are people in this league who will genuinely argue that it not being able to be scarfed makes it a bad mon. I just don't think that's right. Obviously 350 speed tier isn't like game-breakingly broken, like you can still counter it. But it's like, these mons are deceptively tanky. You can invest into that tankiness and get the horn leeches off, which we saw Ethan do. But these mons have good versatility as well, with Spiky Shield, with Leech Seed, with Taunt, with Spikes. They have good versatility, have U-turn access, they have knock access. Only real checks, and I use checks very lightly, is like dragon types, because dragon types can resist their stabs. But newsflash, buddy, they have play rough, so dragon types aren't the answer. So it's like, I don't know, man. There's like very few things you can do to stop them defensively, and then offensively, it's like, yeah, you can scarf them on and maybe try to kill them, but it's like you're playing the risky game, and it's also like, I don't know, man. These mons are so predictable that you should be able to build around them in a way that you stop the checks anyways. It's like, oh no, you sent in Staraptor. I know for a fact you're Choice Scarf, buddy. I'm just gonna bring in something that resists fucking Brave Bird. Or I'm just gonna click Spiky Shield. Or I'm just gonna send, like, I can send a Rocky Helmet Mon. Like, it doesn't, the argument that they aren't able to swap their items so they're bad doesn't work to me, because the game is not that one note. Like, there's just so many different aspects that you can just be like, oh, okay, well, they're not able to scarf their items, so now that I know that, I can focus my build into the other 5 mons to make sure that they still get their job done. Or I can run Trailblaze, which we also saw worked pretty well. Like, I don't know, I just think they're still good. I think they're still really good. Again, Hearthflame is a little bit better to me because Moldbreaker invalidates abilities, so break through sturdy mons, flash fire mons, sapsir mons. But water is still good. Wellspring is still great because, you know, having a water absorb mon is pretty good, right? Granted, it would be times assist, but you know, having water absorb is still good. And these mons just get what they want at will, really. So yeah, my thoughts on them. I had Caesar last season, and I wasn't that high on it, but the more that I did the list, the more I was just like, I would draft Caesar over most of these mons. I will say, I'm gonna drop Caesar below Jirachi. Let me talk about Caesar first. So, yeah, Caesar, in my mind, is, again, kind of in that same vein as Ogerpon, where its counter only has like one counter. It's beat by fire types. And because you know that, you just build your draft around that aspect. I paired it with a Garchomp and a Primarina last season, and I mean, the results kind of speak for itself. I know I didn't bring it a lot, but it got a Nuzlocke 5 appearances because it was able to just be a nuisance. I mean, people have to fucking over prep with this mon, and lo and behold, sometimes you just don't need it. But even if they do over prep for this mon, you still can't guaranteed stop it. You can still get a Swords Dance off and win. It has that same thing as Mega Caesar, and Mega Caesar was a top 8 mon in my mind. So yeah, I don't know, man. Again, it has access to so much utility. It can be a utility mon, but it can also just be Swords Dance, Bullet Punch, Merchant, and win through games like it at a 10 weeks. So I don't know. I just think people aren't really getting what makes this mon good. But at the same time, I think people are also overhyping it. I think that, for example, Jirachi's better than it. And I'll talk about Jirachi real quick. So Jirachi is the same thing as Mew, where it has so much utility. It has so much versatility. It can be All Mine sets. It can be Scarf sets with Iron Head flinching. It can be just Wish support. It can be Stealth Rocks. It can do so many things. And I just think that it's like low-key one of the best mons in the game as a blue mon. And I don't think I would draft Jirachi in the second. But I can see someone drafting it as early as the first round, and I would just be like, yeah, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. At 24, that's a good pick. I just think that this has so much value. I think this does so much for a team. I think it's the best blue on the board as a steel type, and I would just always have it most drafts. I think I wouldn't take it as early as the second round, but if I could get away with drafting it in like the fourth round, I would in every single draft. That's my thoughts on Jirachi. And they're both steel types, so pair it with Fairies and Dragons. Fairies and Dragons. Aegislash. Wow, I forgot that Aegislash is on this list. That's just great. However, I think Aegislash has quite a few weaknesses. So obviously, the King Shield and the stance change are kind of hard for new players and even experienced players to get used to. Because there are straight up turns where you will lose the game because you lose the 50-50 on whether or not you should stay in shield form or go to blade form and attack. That's a hard thing to get right. It's not beginner friendly. It's not even friendly for experienced players. But the turns when you get that shit right is so fun. Oh my god. Aegislash is so fun when you get it right, man. Aegislash is so good when you get it right. This mon feels unstoppable if you're getting every single turn correct. And it's not like the easiest thing to do, but when it does happen, because it will happen, when everything clicks, and you're just like, wow, this thing shouldn't be an OUP. This thing's just disgusting. And it has access to Autotomize, it has access to swords, it can be the special set as well. It can be sub-toxic. Just has so much versatility in the prep. Did I say Autotomize with a weakness policy? I don't know if I did, but that set's also really good. It just has so much versatility. It has so much nuance to it that it's difficult for me to place it lower than me. Even if I think it's hard to use, it's also at times the best OUB on the board. And the one thing you gotta pair with it is like a fucking fighting type too. Yeah, pair it with a fucking fighting type and maybe a dark type. Actually, you should pair it with a dark type, definitely. And then, Fairies and Dragons. Steel type again, woo, yeah. Iron Jug. I don't like putting Iron Jug this high. I don't think Iron Jug is a second rounder. But the results speak for themselves. And the results say Dwarfing a special dark type with Dark Pulse and keeping it in the back until the last mon, and then trying to bail yourself out with Dark Pulse flinching works. The results just say straight up, this is a strategy that works, and you will get rewarded for it most of the time. I don't think that's very good. I don't think that's like a good strategy. Obviously, this mon has a bit more nuance to it because it can, U-turn throughout the course of the game. It can Dark Pulse flinch early in the game. It can do a lot of damage early in the game. Deep boost your energy. But at the end of the day, you're just going to scarf it and click Dark Pulse at the last 10 turns. And you'll either win or lose games based off of that. And that's kind of lame to me. But it is what it is. If that's the way the mon's going to play, that's the way the mon's going to play. Don't put this in an electric terrain team. Honestly, don't draft an electric terrain team is my hot take. But yeah, pair this with you should pair this with a really good physical breaker, because you want this thing to be the late game cleaner. So you want to be able to break through teams so that your late game cleaner can get his job done. Speaking of really good physical breakers, Ursaluna is disgusting. Obviously, Ursaluna needs to be paired in a Trick Room team. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to straight up say, don't draft Ursaluna unless you're going to draft her. I think that the Mon will not get as much value as it could. And if you pair this thing with like a Yuxi or a Cresselia or something with Trick Room healing with Sprite, like that's like the idea. Or like even a Porygon 2 or Trick Room Teleport where you can still get it in for 3 turns, do the thing. I just think that it's really hard to stop Ursaluna in those circumstances. Yeah, just 3 unimpeded turns of Ursaluna wreaking havoc on a team. Most teams can't stand up to that. And the fact that you can do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. Like, most teams can't stop that idea. And I think the few teams that can are like few and far between, right? And obviously, you know, a lot of these teams are just going to have to stop you from ever getting into that position to do that. But you can mental herb your Trick Room setters. You can put berries on them. You can do a lot of things to stop them from dying so they still get their turns off. And then Ursaluna comes in and wreaks havoc on a team again. Once Ursaluna gets going, there is no stopping it. So you have to stop it before it gets going, which is hard to do. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, I've given off the pairings you pair with this Mon. So Corviknight is the Tyler piece of shit Mon, and fuck this Mon. It is a pressure staller. It is a U-turn defogger, and that's about it. Don't draft it if you want to play offense. It's that simple. But yeah, pair it with the bulky water type, and probably, honestly, you should probably pair it with the ground type. I think that's like the best 2 things that you can pair it with. Yeah, this thing just doesn't do anything other than be a piece of shit nuisance that stalls out your moves, and that's annoying. That's real fucking annoying. Anyone who's like based into a Corviknight, based into a Suicune, based into a Zapdos even, anyone who's based into these Mons and lost very valuable PP on like low amounts of turns to use them, like you can genuinely run out of Fire Blast or Hydro Pump facing these Mons, and then you have no coverage to win games. It's so incredibly awful to play against. So yeah, that's why Corviknight is high. Heatran is cool. Heatran kind of falls into the same boat as a lot of these steel types where they're really easy to build around, and I think that drafting a steel type, especially one that is resistant to Psychic and resistant to Fairy, is like really like valuable. Like you need to be able to do that with a steel type. It's kind of worthless. So kind of steel type. So easy. Honestly, Heatran might be the easiest Mon in the league to build around because you pair it with, you know, the type combination. So a similar vein to Iron Crown, where you pair it with Fire type and a Grass type, and you pair it with a Dragon type and a Fairy type, and that's it. And you have a team that's ready to go. One of the old combinations that Patty used to run was pairing like Heatran with like Tapu Lele and Grass, whatever. Point being, yeah, I just think this Mon is easy to build around. It's easy to build week to week because it is kind of locked into like a Stealth Rock role. You can run Choice Scarf Eruption sets and they're funny, but they're not necessarily good. But it just it provides good value on a week to week basis. And the ground weakness is scary a little bit, but it's not insurmountable at all. And also you can bait a lot of ground types and then be Power Herb Solar Beam and just boom through them. But yeah, that's not ideal. It's just an option available to you. Oh, and also this Mon is low-key a trapper with Magma Storm as well. So, you know, and this Mon just provides really good throughout a week. Mega Heracross is something that I'm not as high on as others, but I mean, I can still definitely see Mega Heracross just wreaking havoc on teams. It's slow, but it's not that slow that you can't run a Drill Blaze on it or have Sticky Web support with it. And Obviously, it hits like a truck. Obviously, it's very tanky. Its typing is still kind of dog shit, but I mean, it has really good coverage with Rock Blast, Close Combat, Pin Missile that I think that you can kind of get away with a lot of things on this. And not even getting into like the potential of getting a Moxie boost with regular Heracross and then going into Mega Heracross and then really nothing can survive. So I just think this thing can get away with a lot. I think people are scared of it a little too much at OUB. There's, again, a lot of mons that I would draft over it just by looking at the list, but it's still going to be really good. And I could be wrong, too, as well. I think this mon could be one of the best mons on the board, and it could be one of the worst mons on the board at OUB. I have no idea. We'll find out. I was kind of shocked with how low Torn T ended up being on my list, but when I think about it more, I think it does make a little bit of sense because realistically speaking, Torn T is a mon where you have to play a bit of a gamble when drafting it, right? Because the best thing that this mon can do is be on a rain team. But there's 24 people in the season. You could just get sniped out of rain very early on. You could just get sniped out of Pelipper and Politoed and just be up shit's creek without a paddle. And also, you don't really want, and honestly, don't even really want to pair this mon with Pelipper and Politoed because then it's kind of shitty. You can pair it with better mons. Now, that being said, you are playing with the inaccurate Hurricane. But it's like, I don't know, man. You can pair this with the rain team. You have to be a little bit wary of other people sneaking your rain team out from under you, but it's definitely doable, and I think it's going to be like the best place to put it in. But I think it's also really good outside of the rain team. I think it has good value as like a bulky pivot regenerator fast mon. It's like the only weakness with this mon is that if you're not drafting it with rain, Hurricane is so inaccurate that you're better off not clicking it if you need to get a kill. You're better off just clicking U-turn and knockoff. When I draft this mon, I honestly usually don't bring Hurricane at all. I bring Air Slash, so that's like really bad. Yeah, I don't know. I just think this mon's weird. I think this mon's weird to draft. I think this mon's weird to like really find good pairings with because everything that you want to pair with it is going to be gone by the time you draft it, right? It's going to be gone by the time you draft it, or it's going to be gone on the go around. So you can build a regenerator team with this mon. You can build with like good special and physical breakers and just have it be like a late game cleaner. I don't know. It's a weird mon for sure. And then Excadrill. Excadrill to me is just really simply comes down to, are you willing to play sand? If you're not willing to play sand, I don't think you should draft Excadrill. I think sand in its current state, with Dracozolt being moved down, is honestly in the best state it's going to get. I think sand might be the weakest archetype currently. This is the best you're going to get with sand. So if you aren't willing to play sand with Excadrill, just don't draft it. Go for Iron Treads instead. Can't get Iron Treads, go for fucking Sand Slash, or go for fucking literally anything else. Just don't try to play this mon without sand. And if you are playing it with sand, I think it has potential to be really good. Sand Rush sets are really good. I think you can run Mold Breaker in some weeks and just like surprise like a Rotom Wash or something. So I think this mon has value. It's a good rapid spinner. It's a good stealth rocker. But I think that where this mon is going to shine is on a sand. You can pair it with a Hippowdon, Biggleswift, or Tyranitar. Honestly, Tyranitar is not the best because you would rather spend that OUA option on a mon that works outside of sand as a threat, so that way sand can function as secondary threat to the main threat. You feel me? Like, I honestly, I'm like in the boat of you pair this mon with like a Blacephalon or something. And then you just allow sand to be the secondary threat so that it can really do its job. But yeah, I just think it's just like not Ezreal is just not drafted as opposed to Torn T, which is but is significant. So moving into the Night Owls again, going over it again. This is like late in the second, early in the third, to also around late in the third, depending on how we get down the list. So Keldeo is still really valuable to me for the same reasons that Urshifu Rapid Strike is valuable to me, because Water and Fighting is a good offensive typing, not a bad defensive typing. Keldeo is fast. Keldeo is a good special attacker. It's not a bitch tanky-wise. It can take some hits. It's easy to build around. You pair it with the Fire in the Grass. You pair it with the Psychic in the Dark. And I think that the only thing that has me hesitant to put it a little higher is that Keldeo is just a mon where it can be checked very easily through Assault Vest. It can be stopped very easily through Water Absorb. It needs a lot of support to get what it needs to get done. But every single time I draft Keldeo, it's not hard to get that support. I think this is really the tier in Night Owls where these mons either need support or are support. But if they have that, then they are really solid as like things that can carry your team on a week-to-week basis. If you aren't prepping for them and you're facing them, they will go ham. Like, they'll go crazy on you. I think Keldeo is like the best example of this, which is why it's at the top of the list. Lamora is Lamora. Also, similar to Samurott Hisui, it's one of the best hazard leads in the game. Contact moves, let you set up T-spikes, which is nice. It has stealth rocket spikes, and it does have T-spikes as well. I think where this mon really shines is in set teams where you don't have to bring it as Focus Sash lead every single week, where you can bring a Stealth Rock set, and then the next week you can bring a Meteor Beam set, and then the next week you can bring a Scarf set, or a Spec set, or an Assault Vest set even. When I had it, I paired it with Iron Crown and Swampert, and I think that core of defense and offense really worked well together, especially considering that pairing it with a slow pivot to get it in, if you are going to bring offensive, is really nice. And I think you should also just pair this mon with like a good flying resist, or a good flying or a ground resist, ground immunity, whatever you can get on. Really allows this mon to step into a role where it can wear a lot of hats, and also having, other hazard control, so that way it can step into those hats where it doesn't have to run more stealth rock spikes every single week. That's my take. Hoopa Unbound is unironically one of the best breakers ever to exist. As a physical breaker with Hyperspace Fury, it punches holes through teams. Get it? And then as a special breaker, it can still do the same thing, obviously, to a bit of a lesser extent. But, it can also be like a Choice Scarf, Dark Pulse late game, late cleaner. It can be Assault Vest Mon pretty effectively. It can be a Choice Band Mon. It can be a Choice Specs Mon if you really want to punch. I just think that the only issue with Hoopa, one, obviously that U-turn weakness is bad, but you can build around that. The speed tier is what really gets me on Hoopa. The speed 284, dog shit. And I don't know. I just think that you can really do a lot with this mon, but you could also just not do anything with this mon, and it's hard to gauge whether it's because Hoopa is good, so people prep for it, or whether it's because Hoopa is bad and doesn't get anything done. I still think Hoopa's good. I think Hoopa Unbound is one of the best mons on the evidence by the fact that it's the Night Owls and near the top of the list. But yeah, I mean, pair this with one of you, or pairing it with type as well. Yeah, something that can switch in on a U-turn, and something that can supplement its breaking, whether it's a setup sweeper for late game or it's another breaker on one side or the other or both. I think that's how you get the value out of it. And with fast mons as well, so that you have something to clean up after. Cyclozar is a mon that honestly was going to be in needs context, and it still honestly could, because I think Cyclozar does need a lot of context to draft it. But I think what differentiates Cyclozar is that you can really just get this mon and build around it. I could even see this mon going as early as like the first round, and you just build around it. I think you can build around this way easier than you can build around a lot of other things. Generator, Rapid Spin, obviously has access to knockoff for utility, but it can also just be like a shift tier set, which is interesting to me. It can also be like a twice spec set, which is interesting to me. These aren't necessarily good sets, but the fact that their options are really unique. There's not really a mon that does what Cyclozar does for a team. Ability is just so nice. Ability to be whatever you need it to be makes me value it. So, like, it's high on the list. An AMT is a great setup sweeper. It's a great bulky attacker that can take one hit and deal it back. That being said, I think it's like one of the worst fairy types. One of the worst fairy types ever in my mind. I would probably draft like infinite fairy types in UU before I ever look at this thing again. Had it twice at this point, and I think both times I fucking hated it. Yeah, I don't like this mon, but I can see other people really liking it. I think obviously the ability to just set up sweeper with Calm Mind agility or Calm Mind iron defense is really nice. It has Draining Kiss, it has Mystic Fire and Earth Power, which is damn near perfect coverage. What I often just find I don't like about this thing is that it's not fast enough on the agility sets to really wow me. It's not tanky enough on non-Iron Defense Calm Mind sets to live most hits to make Draining Kiss worthwhile. And then on the Calm Mind Iron Defense sets, it takes too long. It's really easy to stop if anyone's paying attention. So like, I think the only way that this mon works is if you pair it with way more broken shit, so that way they can't prep for everything. And I just don't think that's viable. Not in this current 24 minutes style drafting. I think in the rookie split, it'll go way crazier because there's obviously less people, so and build more crazy teams. But yeah, I don't think it's like crazy good, but I obviously still see inherently the value in having a bulky fairy type, a bulky fairy type that can set up and win games. That's why it's gonna be this high on the list. Damn, bro, why the fuck is this above Mega Mawile? I'm gonna drop it down 2 tiers, and yeah, that's my take. Honestly, 3 tiers. Honestly, 4 tiers. Yeah, it stops at circuitry, but like, yeah. Let me go over these other mons though. Zoro Kisui is great at being a nuisance. Second that you see a Zoro Kisui in the team preview, every single turn is a guessing game of, oh, I really hope this isn't Zoro Kisui, or else I can potentially lose the game here by, clicking the wrong move, and then it one-shots the mon that I need to beat something else. And that's like fucking annoying as shit. I don't know. I think where this mon really shines is when you pair it with a dark type, or you pair it with a psychic type, and they try to click a ghost type move. Sorry, not a dark type, the psychic type. Yeah, you pair it with a psychic type, a good psychic type, and then they try to click a ghost type move, or you could do it with the dark type because they try to click a fighting type move, and then you are Zoro Kisui and you're immune to it, and then you one-shot those mons because you have type advantage or you have focus blast. And that's where it gets spooky, right? Because the ability for Zoroark to circumvent checks to other mons is what makes it good. But it can also be good in its own right with nasty spot access, with access to sword stance, and sucker punch. No sneak, I think. Oh, it might not be. I can't check that right now, but that's where like I think the mon gets like scary good and it's sleeper broken. But that does require a lot of team building mastery and game mastery to get into positions where you can force those 50-50s. And when you're forcing your opponent to make mid-ground plays every single turn because they're scared of Zora Kisui, eventually you will get ahead because you are in the driver's seat for the majority of the game. That's just how Zora Kisui warps the game. And that's how Zora warps the game too, but Zora can't do it to that extent because it doesn't have that level of immunities and it doesn't have like that fear factor to it due to that. And it also doesn't have as good coverage as well. Have the ghost status, have the ability to be a bigger circus. That's just my thoughts. Mega Mawile went undrafted last season and Lewis picked it up. And I thought that Lewis kind of showed why Mega Mawile should be drafted every single season. Just there is no switch into this mon ever. Gotta switch into it, die. And you can get the Intimidate off when it comes in, and then it gets a kill and something dies. And that's just like, wow, that's really scary. They can be Swords Dance, but just best when it has Play Rough, Knockoff, Sucker Punch, fourth move, whether it's Iron Head, whether it's Thunder Punch, whether it's Fire Fang, whatever you need. And then you just kill something and they die. And it's hard to prep for. Because obviously you're going to be pairing it with other bigger threats, more so than an AMT, where an AMT is, oh yeah, you can pair with other threats, but you don't have enough threats. Mawile is such a premier physical breaker that you just need to pair it with like fast mons and maybe a slow pivot just to bring it in, but you don't need that. Just bring it in when something dies and then you punch a hole through something and you call it a day. And that's really hard to prep for. And like the only thing you really need to draft this mon with is, in my opinion, you need to draft it with good special attackers and speedy mons, and then it just does its thing. You can't stop it from doing its thing. So yeah, that's why it's good. King Lu is another hazard mon, it's another utility mon, and I think this mon tanks everything. Just think this mon tanks everything. Like, I've seen this mon tank 2 grass knots from Specs Tangrowth. Like, this mon tanks fucking everything. And when you tank everything and you get your utility off every single game, you get the Ruinations off to bring things to half health, you get the Whirlwinds to, like, phase out mons that are a bit of a threat, and then they take hazard. This mon does everything, man. This mon fucking tanks everything. It does everything that you need it to do. It's hard to prep for because you never kill it and it stays alive forever, especially if it's Resto Chesto sets or if it has a Wish Passer next to it. This thing never fucking dies with a Wish Passer next to it. Oh my god. One day I'm going to be the demonic bastard that drafts this with Alamomola and Pecharunt, and that's going to be the game. Maybe that's going to be this season, man. Now that I said it, someone else is going to like be like, ooh, Alamomola, Pecharunt, ooh. But like, you know, genuinely, like, it's just a bastard mon. It's just a bastard mon. Mon's really good at being a bastard, stopping your opponent from doing what they want. Rule Edge is a good Focus Sash user. Need this mon with hazard control so you can run the Focus Sash sets, because its ability to be that Swords Dance set late game with Bitter Blade or bulk up set with Bitter Blade, Flame Charge or whatever is scary, fucking terrifying. Mon in the late game is super terrifying. As Shadow Sneak as well, with the weak armor sets. I just think this mon it's the potential mon in my mind, where it's like, this mon has the potential to win every single week. Usually it doesn't, because people aren't fucking stupid. I do genuinely think it's like a thing of like, oh, just don't be dumb and you don't lose to this thing ever. But it's the potential mon. It has the potential to win every single week just by virtue of its attack stat and its coverage, which, you know, close combat Bitter Blade, Shadow Sneak, Poltergeist, just so much damage. Yeah, it's probably like one of the best physical fire types in the game. Obviously, we have like the Hearthflame and Cinderace that are above it. It's probably one of the best fire type mons that are physical. So I think you should definitely be at it. I already talked about Enamorous. Circuitry. Mike had a couple weeks of Regieleki and a couple weeks of Circuitry last season. And then I think Mike again. So Mike Burke had Circuitry and Regieleki last season. And then Mike Divine had Circuitry for the rest of the season. And both times I was just like, wow, Circuitry is still a threat at OUB. It's a threat when it's Scarf, which it will be 9 times out of 10. Its ability to Volt Switch Thunderbolt and get Beast Boost potential for late game is nice. It has Energy Ball for those ground types. Has Dazzling Beam for Dragon types. I think that on is good and might be the best electric type that I have on this list. I think it is. Yes, so it's the best electric type in this tier in my opinion. However, I think that ultimately you do kind of get more value out of some of these other electric types because, yes, Circuitry is better as a late game cleaner, it's better as a breaker, but these other mons have other things that they do. I'm going to put Circuitry above them, but I think that me personally, I would probably draft some or Adios is fucking dog shit. I don't think so. But access to Healing Wish is nice. Access to Draco Meteor is cool. It can be a setup sweeper some weeks. It can be a bulky mon other weeks. It can be a good breaker. It can be a decent cleaner. Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. I just don't like Latios. The only thing that makes Latios even slightly redeemable in my mind is that it got flip turn and Latios doesn't have utility, like it doesn't have the ability to switch out. And there are other Dragon tests I would draft before this. There are a million other Psychic tests I would draft before this. By virtue of what Latios is and what it represents, I have to keep it high, but I don't think it's mon at all. I will never draft. That is just genuine truth. I will never draft Latios. And if I do, someone can shoot me. Sandy Shocks is still good. Obviously, really good in the Sun team. I think that's where it shines. Get it? It has Stealth Rocks and Spikes, which makes it an interesting option sometimes. Its lack of coverage does hurt it at times because it really only has access to Earth Power and then Volt Switch Thunderbolt. But that's just like not that big of a deal, especially if you're pairing it in the Sun team where it's like, oh no, this mon can't break grass types. Like, who fucking cares? Just bring a fucking Flare Blitzer and call it a day. Or bring a Weather Ball user and call it a day in the Sun. And it's like, yeah, it's just easy for this mon to get what it needs to get. It's fast, it's decent tanky. I think Assault Vest is really cool. I thought Tickle would bring that up. I think the Booster Energy sets are also pretty cool, but yeah, again, I think that mon really works its best in the Sun. That's why it's up here. Zapdos, Galar, Gyarados, if you will, is a really good fighting type. I think it's interesting to me as Defiant, so it can switch it in on Intimidate, so it can switch it on Defogs and get a boost attack. It's got a fast U-turn. It can be a good Choice Scarfer. Honestly, probably one of the best fighting type Choice Scarfers in the game. Close combat's nice. Obviously, it's a good Brave Birder, and I am a proponent of physical flying types. So I am a big fan of Gyarados as a whole. I think also like Thunderous Kick is really cool because it allows you to break through would-be defensive walls like an Alomomola or something like that, where they think they'll be able to take 2 close combats, but they're definitely not going to be able to take a Thunderous Kick into a close combat, or so just force them out, and then you can like, knock off and you can get good turns. This one just has good utility. It has good coverage. It can be a bulk upset as well. I think it's a good mon. Thundy T and Thundy I kind of fit in that same realm. Honestly, Rotom Wash also kind of fits in the same realm. So I'm going to kind of just loop all three together as electric types with ground immunity. And that is that's inherently valuable. The thing that I think differentiates them is that I think personally Thundurus I best utility mon of the three, which is interesting because Rotom Wash is in this list, right? But Thundy Eye's Prankster U-turn, Prankster Thunderwave, and Prankster Taunt really elevates it in my mind as something that can stop things. It stops setup sweepers. It can stop like Scarfers in their tracks, and it has obviously like U-turn as well, so it's not going to block. But unlike Rotom Wash, when it turns. And then you can bring physical sets. You can bring special sets. You can do Nasty Bot. You can do Woke Up. You can be Banded, like I think Sean Harbinson was. Or you can be Specs. Or you can be Scarf. Or you can be set up. Like, Thundy Eye does a lot. I think Thundy T is kind of forced into a role where it has to be either Scarf or it has to be Bot. And that makes it a little bit worse in my mind than Thundy Eye because have the utility of Thundy Eye, but it's still great in those both of those roles. And also this mon has Volt Absorb. And then last but not least, we have Rotom Wash, which is in my mind a little worse than both of these guys, but you know, it's still great utility. It has Will-O-Wisp and Thunderwave, and then it also has Pain Split. So yeah, that's like where I think fly. And I mean, because they are electric types that are immune to ground, you can kind of do with anything. And then most teams will work as well. Going into the solid picks, again, the later that you draft these, the better. So is it really any surprise that I have Mega T-Tar and Mega Garchomp at the top of this list? Because these are the premier. Oh, I'm an Esposito and I draft these in the 11th round and I get to do my thing. But I just think these mons are both really good. Tyranitar is a little better in my mind. One, because it's a sand setter, but also because it's Pursuit Trapper. And it has Dragon Dance sets that are cool. But, you know, Garchomp's not that far behind it as a Scale Shot user. I am personally a proponent of moving Mega Garchomp up because it in sand is really annoying, and Scale Shot sets once it gets going are pretty much unstoppable unless you have an Ice Shard user, which is that's not an answer. I don't like being like, oh yeah, this thing has a 4 times weakness, so thus it's not good. Garchomp regular is one of the best mons on the board. Lando Eye is one of the best mons on the board. I don't think that's I don't think it's reliable enough. And it's like non-click substitute instead of 10. So it's like might not even beat it with an Ice Shard mon. So yeah, that's just where I stand on these two. Salamence also has Dragon Dance. I think Salamence is an interesting mon because I think what makes Salamence good compared to other mons of its type is its tier. Its speed tier and access to Moxie is what makes it a little better than most Dance users. Or Intimidate if you really want to make sure that you get those Dragon Dances off. I've seen a lot of people run, I'm just going to call them bad sets. I've seen a lot of people run bad special sets, and I don't think those are very good. I will say that last season it was on the Rain team, and I think that does intrigue me a little bit. One being, you know, able to be a Dragon Dance on and doesn't, but also having gains intrigue me a little bit. But I'm not sold on it, man. Just run this mon as a Dragon Dancer late in the game. You pair it with Berries or Dragons, and then with Mega Garchomp, you pair it with Sand or Berries and Steals. Berries and Steals for Sound. And with Tyranitar, fuck if I know, pair it with a ghost type, pair it with a psychic type. You want to be able to pursuit trap. So bring in mons that are weak to pursuit and then trap. Chansey and Blissey are both here in my mind. They're fucking disgusting mons, and wishing is still good. So having these very tanky Spadef walls, like pass a wish onto whatever they want, and then the mons get full healed because these mons have like 1,000,000 HP. Just that one meme of Infernape clicks close combat on Blissey, and then it takes 15 years for the health bar to go down in Gen 4. That's what it feels like facing these mons. Genuinely, that's what it feels like. The games go forever. You want these on stall teams mostly, but you could pair them with any bulky attacker, and they'll do their job. Their aura's only redeeming quality is its speed tier. If any of these other OUBs are available that are electric type, take them first, which leaves their aura in a pretty weird spot. Honestly, I think it's only slightly better than Regieleki. And then you just draft cheaper electric types that do similar things. A Bellibolt or a Frost or a Raikou. I just think that the only redeeming factor to this thing is its speed tier means that you can have an answer to fast mons, have an answer to Scarfers that aren't getting this tier of speed, but it's just like not. Again, if you can get it late in the draft, then it gets a little bit better, it gets a little bit more redeemable, but I'm not a Zero Aura fan. Vaporeon is Wish Passer, but I think that if you're going for a Wish mon, you should just be getting Blissey or Chansey. And if it's like, oh, I want the Wish Flip Turn though, you don't get it, I want the Wish Flip Turn. It's like, okay, well then you should have drafted a Lomomola for 40 more points because it's way better. It's like, no, but I don't want to spend those 40 points. It's like, oh, okay, then I don't know, man. Literally just stop valuing earning that highly. Like, I don't see the value in drafting this thing. I don't see why you should ever draft Vaporeon. But the later the better. Obviously, being a Wish Passer has inherent value. I'm just not high on it at all. Now we get into the tier of mons that are, in my mind, actually good super late round, and I would draft them. I have to put these other mons higher because I think they are higher on this list, and thus you're gonna have to draft them a little earlier. But these mons are actually good and should be drafted as late as you can get them. So Breloom, great 4 mon. Has Mach Punch, which the Technician Mach Punch can't be stated. Has the Bullet Seed. It got close combat access. It got Gunk Shot this generation. Mon can do a lot of damage on a week-to-week basis, especially those Focus Sash sets. It has even the Poison Heal sets if you really want to be that level of scumbag with the But I don't think that's like the ideal way of playing the game. I think you run the Spore Sword stance and you try to just win games late to the game. So obviously you're going to want to pair it with Hazard Control. You're going to want to pair it with either Fire or Water or Psychic Dark. It's like Dark Rod is a little bit better for you. I think Pursuit Trapping, the Ghost types of that Breloom can Mach Punch teams is fucking disgusting. And yeah, I just think that this mon can do a lot of damage. Maybe I'm just going to move all of these mons up. Gonna move mons up as I see them. So I think Breloom is right there. Mamoswine. Mamoswine's gonna like make it all the way up here and then stop. Not better than Breloom. But Mamoswine, its Earthquakes are really good. Its Ice Shards are really good. And I think that's why you draft this thing. It can be a decent lead option with Stealth Rock, Endeavor, Ice Shard. But I think where it's really going to shine is being a late game choice banded damage threat or a Scarf threat in the late game as well. It can be Trailblaze as well, but like I just don't see that being good. I've also seen people run this thing in snow. I don't think this is really a snow mon. As snow cloak, but I don't think it's a snow mon. I think you just that mon and bring it as I need a ground type late in the draft. Nameless one will probably be. And Weavile might drop down further in the list. Weavile is like probably one of the worst OUBs. Honestly, Weavile's like very close in my mind to being do not draft. I'm gonna come back to Weavile. Regidrago and Regieleki kind of operate that same role in my mind where they're really good in specific matchups, and if you can clear the way for them, then they are actually just like giga broken, but they require a lot of support to get what they want out of a game, and it's not always ideal to draft them. I think I would personally draft a couple mons for them. Sorry, I do think Zeraora is still better than them, so that's where I'm going to adjust that. But I think that Regidrago and Regieleki both just do so much once their threats are removed, and getting their threats removed as hard as it was when they were OU draft mons that removed their threats. And the later that you get them in the draft, the better that they are, because you're getting more valuable picks in the later tiers like UU and BL, so that these mons do more. So yeah, I think that they have high value here. And Drago's a little bit higher in value because it's Dragon Dance. Komodo is kind of dog shit, but its ability to Omni Boost can be scary in the right weeks. Its ability to run Dragon Dance can be scary in the right weeks. I just don't think. I think the best thing you can say about this thing is that it's a good special dragon type that doesn't have to click Draco Meteor. So it has one move, swinging skills, and that means that it's not getting weakened on its special attack, so it can actually punch through things. It's not going to be a cleaner, it's going to be a breaker, but it's not a good enough breaker because it doesn't have the stats to do it. And if you're running the Omni Boost set, it's like, okay, well, you Omni Boosted, that's cool, but you still lack in damage to like really get what you need done. You still kind of lack in speed because 295 isn't a giga broken speed tier. So you can be stopped by Scarfers. You can be stopped by fairy types because most of them are going to tank through your Flash Cannon or your Iron Head, whatever it is. It can work in the right hands. It can work in the right circumstances. But I think that this thing needs a little bit of help to get its job done. Actually, it needs a lot of bit of help to get its job done. But yeah, I mean, it's also like he's around because again, it's Fairy Steel or Psychic Lighting or Psychic Dark, I should say. Again, good core to build around, but I'm just not too big on it. Victini is really only good for Recreate and Final Gambit. This is another fire type that you just Scarf and you hope that you get the job done. And significantly worse than Mew and Jirachi in my mind, despite also being the little fairy Pokemon that has 100 base stats, because fire typing is a shit typing and you don't want to take Stealth Rocks damage every single time you switch in. And you can't run heavy duty boots most weeks because you need to be Choice Scarf to get your damage off. And you can't. Being Calm Mind sets doesn't get you anywhere because Searing Shot creates like your best special. Like, I just think this mon's held back by its fire type. Just want to be able to U-turn with a mon like this, and you can't U-turn on rocks. So you really need hazard control. You really need a bulky water type, and you really need a slow pivot to get it in. If you can get all three and unlock Victini, then it can do so much for your team. But it's hard. It's hard to fucking get this thing to do what you need it to do. It still lacks in damage. It still lacks in speed. Well, it doesn't lack in speed. It lacks in damage. It lacks in damage a lot. And it's tanky, but it's not tanky. This is like the instance of like a jack of all trades, master of none being bad, but purely because of its weakness. has good strength. Azu is not a fairy type that I personally like because I like special attack Moonblast. I don't want to miss Play Rough, but I can see it for it. It has Play Rough. It has Aqua Jet. Huge power Belly Drum. It has a place. It has a place on teams. And again, water and fairy typing, easy to build around. Steel Dragon type, Fire Grass type. Easy as fuck to build around this mon. But I just think that Azumarill's time in OUB may be coming to an end soon. I think that it's only barely holding on to this by virtue of, but the potential of Azumarill is really good. But like, how much longer is potential going to keep this mon in this tier? I don't know. I think that once Champions comes out and we get these new megas to tier, it's going to be time for Azumarill to pack its bags and go down a tier. Because it's going to be time to start testing out if it holds its own in PL, which I don't even know if it can, but we'll get there. We'll get there next week. And then Skeledirge is also barely holding on to this tier by virtue of potential. And I just pretty good. I think if you're going to draft a bulky unaware mon, you shouldn't draft one that needs to hold heavy duty boots so that it can get its job done. Because you want to be able to run leftovers on them. You want to be able to run Rocky on them. You know what I mean? And it's like, I would rather draft Crocalor at RU than draft this thing. Its Torch Song sweeping is vastly overrated. Its Will-O-Wisp X is vastly overrated. Is a good wall, don't get me wrong, but it's just also very easy to counter because Fire and Ghost is a very bad defensive typing. And its speed tier is so dog shit, so minimal that you can run the Flame Charge and you can get the Flame Charge off and you're still not outspeeding regular things, let alone Scarfers. So, yeah, Skeledirge is like pretty dog shit. But I think there's a draft for it somewhere in the world. It's just not my draft ever. And now we get into needs context because I think that these mons in the right circumstances can be good. Starting off with Ditto. I don't think you should ever draft Ditto. I'll just be very blatant and upfront and honest about that. I don't think you should draft Ditto, but I think Ditto on the waiver wire is a whole different story. Ditto on the waiver wire, know what your division is, you know who you're facing twice. You can very easily find a matchup where Ditto is fucking disgusting. Being able to essentially stop your opponent from wanting to be a setup sweeper, because if they are a setup sweeper, you're going to take their setup sweeper and fuck them with it. That's fucking crazy. And again, there are just matches where Ditto is giga broken, and then there are matches where Ditto does nothing at all. And that fucking up and down of Ditto makes it really hard to draft it. But as a pickup, late into the season or early in the season, even you know what your opponents are. Mon completely warps team building in the same way that Isui does, in the same way that Dango does. It completely warps the game into your favor, and you should just take a peek at. But I would not draft it. But you could get away with it in the 11th round. And partners for Ditto, everything. Who cares? Ditto's a fuck you mon. It's not a good mon. It's not a good mon. That's crazy. It's not a mon that you build around. It's a mon that you play to stop your opponent. Grimmsnarl is still fine. No, actually, let me take that back. Grimmsnarl's bad. Grimmsnarl's bad in its current tier. I don't think that this mon can hold its own in OUB. I think that Champions will be the final straw where we finally move it down. Obviously, you run a Covert Cloak and you stop its parting shots. You run Brick Break and you stop its screens. You run Defog and you stop its screens. If you see Grimmsnarl on the enemy team, you just know how to stop it from getting what it needs to do. And you're investing so much points into Grimmsnarl that you're not actually able to get the setup sweepers that you want. The setup sweepers that are best to win games. It's just hard to draft this mon. You should just get something cheaper. You should just get a Klefki. Get any, like, Whimsicott. Like, honestly, any screen setter that doesn't have to fucking be 140 points. Yeah, I don't see this thing as good, and I don't think I ever will again. It took some time. I had to force my rookies to play with it a couple times to, like, really kind of see what the downsides were, and now that I have them, just, yeah, I don't think that this mon is ever going to be something I look at seriously again in this game. Cresselia, I kind of mentioned when we were talking about Ursaluna. I kind of mentioned when we were talking about this tier. This is the premier Trick Room setter, and wow, man, if you draft this thing in Trick Room, it is great, but don't draft it otherwise. But yeah, you can just pair this thing with, like, an Ursaluna with, like, an Executor Alola. Kind of think of, like, good special slow breakers. Raging Bolt? Kinda. But yeah, you just pair this with slow mons that hit hard, and wow, they sure do hit hard. And then you get to Lunar Dance them back, and wow, they sure do hit hard. Yeah, game-breakingly broken in the right context, but outside of that context, it's fucking dog shit. Deoxys defense is it's a nice mon. I think Stealth Rock Spikes and Teleport are interesting to me still inherently. I think its ability to be a stored power sweeper late game is still interesting to me inherently. I'm not high on it. I'm not high on Deoxys at all. I think that this mon works really well as a late game pickup. You notice that your opponent have good hazard control or have a good dark type, and you pick it up off the waiver and win a game. But I'm not in the boat of drafting. But I think that in the right context, it can be. Mega Sableye is a stall mon. If you're playing stall, you can, but don't draft it otherwise. It needs push support. It needs a carry type. It needs a steel type badly. It needs special defensive walls. There's potential for Mega Sableye. I think if it does wind up getting the things that we think it's going to get, like Parting Shot, oh my god, man, I'm going to go back. But as it currently stands, you shouldn't draft. But it's not going to be in Do Not Draft because I think in the right it can still work. Slitherwing, I could arguably put Slitherwing in Weather because I think that is the context that it needs. However, I think that you can draft Slitherwing outside of Weather and still perform, unlike other mons that will not. That being said, I think that really just can't draft Slitherwing and be, like, serious about it. Because it's like first impression is cool, but you can draft cheaper first impression mons. You can draft cheaper bug types that provide a similar value, if not better, like a Blue Kicks. And as for fighting types, I think 90% of the fighting types in BL are better than it. I think some of the fighting types in UU, like Mienshao, are better than it. And I don't know, I just think if Conkeldurr was able to move down, then Slitherwing was definitely valuable to move down. Worse than Conkeldurr. Right. I don't think that the potential of it clicking Flame Charge is very good. I don't think that its bulk up sets are very good. Weak on the special side to, Moonblast, Psychic, Blind type moves like Flying even. I don't think that you can draft this mon in a way that brings out its full potential because it costs so much points. Not a do not draft, not yet in my mind. I think I'm going to need another season of seeing it be dog shit before I get there. But it's pretty damn close. And honestly, Weavile, finally getting to Weavile. is like pretty close to a do not draft and a must move down to L in my mind because the speed tier is nice, the attacking stat's nice, it can do good damage, but all of these things are like on paper, Weavile can be good. But if Weavile was good, then people would draft it. If Weavile had value, then people would draft it. So clearly, there's something wrong with Weavile. I think what's wrong with it is that it lacks the damage to be good. Not a good breaker, because you can't break anything unless you're choice banning. And if you are choice banning it, gets way worse in late game scenarios because you can't switch up the moves, which you really need to be able to do. It gets set up on by a lot of things. It gets scarfed and killed, revenge killed by a lot of things. It gets hit by priority, like Hawk Punch, Vacuum Wave, and Bullet Punch, and die. It gets out tanked by a lot of things. I just think in its current state, Weavile isn't very good, and I don't know what fixes outside of a move down. But I also don't know if I think Weavile should move down because I think at BL it will be very, very good. But I'm also just like, I don't know, man. If Mega Absol can sit in BL and be like not a good BL mod. I play with Mega Absol and I don't think it's a very good BL mod. So if Mega Absol can sit in that tier and not be very good, what's the difference between Mega Absol and Weavile? Like, Weavile is faster, sure, but not like faster in ways that like really matter because 361 to 380, there's not that much of a discrepancy in that speed where like the mons that scarfed out speed and Absol still scarfed out. And it's not that much harder hitting because Absol has a good attack stat. Weavile has to run like choice band to like match it. So like life orb to like match it. So it's not that much harder hitting. It doesn't have the coverage of a Mega Absol. Mega Absol has a potential for special sets, which Weavile doesn't. So it's like this mon's not better than Absol. So I think I'm like I think I've actually just talked myself into this mon being I think in its current state, Weavile's just not. I would rather go for a Sneasel, and I have gone for a Sneasel, than I would look at this. I would rather get a cheaper Dark type or a cheaper Ice type, which there are plenty. I'm gonna be at the top of this. And then for the other do not draft Fable, literally draft any other fairy type. Holy fuck, man, Fable's not viable in this tier, and I'm sick of pretending like it is. Oh, it has Stealth Rock. Oh, it has Thunder Wave. Oh, it has Moonlight. Who fucking cares? It's not a good mon. It does no damage. It has no tank stats. It's not speedy. This is like the most nothing burger of a mon ever. The best thing that you can do with it is try to get a Cosmic Power Sweep 1 week and then drop it and get cheaper fairy type like don't draft it. And then Dugtrio is haha funny, oh it can trap, but like Dugtrio is just so obvious in what it wants. If you dead shell a mon that's weak to it, like, you're never gonna fucking fall for it. I just don't know. I don't necessarily think Dugtrio is gonna be a shitty BL. It's gonna be a really good BL. But like I just don't think that these trappers are as valuable as people are putting them in their mind. Maybe, you know, in Gen 8 when we unbanned Gothitelle, Gothitelle was like the most broken thing ever. Like, yeah, back then top trappers were like top tier in my mind. But it's like nowadays I'm like, I can just run a Shuka Berry and see a Dugtrio, and then Dugtrio's worthless. Dugtrio tried to trap my Muck and then I killed it. You know, like I just don't care. But yeah, that's my thoughts on those. Who the fuck is taking the shower at this time? So going into the weather mons, Powdon, Ninetales, Alola, and Vanillux. I think all of these mons are kind of like in that same boat. You can't really draft these outside of their weather. They set up weather, they do it very well. Think of Powdon. I'm gonna wait because that is. I'm gonna wait. All right, are we done? All right. I think Hippowdon is the best sand setter due to its high HP stat and making so that you can get multiple turns of the weather out, whereas with Gigalith, multiple turns is not an option. Explosion and Guitar, Mega Guitar, you might be able to last. You don't have the tankiness of a Hippowdon, which has very few weaknesses, or Spike Off, or like Tip. So, Hippowdon's good in my mind. And then we get into like the Ninetales of Lola. Ninetales is the best Sunsetter because Torkoal is too expensive. And that's that. That's all there is to say about that. It has Healing Wish, so it's fun. Ninetales of Lola and Vanillux are both Aurora Veil merchants. Vanillux can explode, so you can get in Mons quicker, which I find, but Ninetales of Lola's ability to, persevere and like Moonblast and Rai is also able, so something to keep in mind. And then the last setter that you can put on this list is Indeedee, and Indeedee is the best Psychic Terrain setter as well. Yeah, I think all of these mons are like better than their OUA counterparts because they're cheaper. And Indeedee so immune to Ghost, so way better on a Psychic Terrain team where you want a lot of Psychic decks to use Expanding Force, and then you have a mon that's immune to Ghost. Pretty good pairing. Indeedee, Deoxys Speed, Hawlucha. Speaking of Deoxys Speed, wow, Deoxys Speed has the fastest Expanding Force, and it does damage. And that's the only reason you should draft it is this team. Don't draft this mon for hazards. You can pick up cheaper mons or better mons, like the infinite amount of options that we talked about up here, like Lamora, Ting-Lu, what have you. And then you have Barraskewda, which is a rain mon that both rain teams can get. You can pair it with Archaludon, you can pair it with Mega Swampert. It does good damage, don't get me wrong, but don't draft it outside of rain because then it doesn't do good damage. It's not boosted. So, yeah, that's OUBs as a whole. And it only took us an hour and 42 minutes. Oh my fucking god. This list is so much longer. It's like 20 mons more than OUA. So it just takes so much fucking time to get through. But that is the list. And I am happy with it. Actually, I got one last adjustment. No, I don't. Wait. I'm going to move Dirge down to new contract. It's gonna be the top of the year, but I think Dirge is pretty fucking dog shit. Yeah, that's my last adjustment. I think that's something that I'm happy with. Start next week. We'll just go straight into PL. Hopefully we can get through that fucking quicker than this one. That's the list and that's the video. All right, thank you guys for watching. This has been Tyson, coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and it's been the Midwest Pokemon League. Watching. See you next time.